الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
Inshallah, before we begin, please scoot up so we can make space, inshallah. So
Allahu Akbar. Allah. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. حي على الله أكبر. الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستهديه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدًا عبده ورسوله. قال الله تعالى في كتابه الكريم بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. وقال الله تعالى يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. أما بعد. Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah. I begin by praising and thanking Allah Azza wa Jalla for who He is and what He gives. I begin by praising and thanking Allah that Alhamdulillah, He has given us the honor and the opportunity to once again join in His remembrance Azza wa Jal. It is by the honor of Allah Azza wa Jal that He gave us, each and every one of us, the opportunity to join once again for Salatul Jummah. And it is from Allah's mercy that He has graced us and He has honored us now to witness the new Islamic calendar year. And that alhamdulillah, thumma alhamdulillah, He has allowed us to now witness the entirety of the previous year. Meaning, He allowed us to live through the month of Ramadan. And how many of us at that time, we made the dua, oh Allah, allow me to witness the month of Ramadan. And we lived through it. And within that month, there is the greatest of the nights, which is containing the greatest night, which is the night of Laylatul Qadr. خَيْرٌ مِّنْ أَلْفِ شَهْرٍ. And we made dua, Ya Allah, allow us to witness that night and give us life, and He gave us life. And the months went on. And then we were able to witness the best 10 days of the year, which were the first 10 days of Dhul Hijjah. And within it were the days of Hajj. And for all of our Hujjaj, we ask Allah, Ya Arhamar Rahimeen, to count them from amongst those who have a Hajj Mabrur, a fully accepted Hajj. And within those days, there is the day of Arafah, which if fasted, it is the expiation of 2 years of sin. And then, on top of all of that, after giving us life to witness the entire year, He now gave us life to witness this new year. And within this beautiful first month, there is the day of Ashura, another day of fasting in which you fast, and it is the expiation of another year's worth of sins. And why do I mention this? It is because as we live our lives, sometimes we get stuck. And we wonder to ourselves, am I too far gone? Have I made too many mistakes to be forgiven? And how many times, whether it's in a day, that or in a week, or in a month, or in a year, that Allah, He gives us times to turn back to Him Azza wa Jal. That throughout the day, how many chances does Allah give us to attain paradise? That just in our morning and evening adhkar, that as it's mentioned in Bukhari, that if a person is to recite the dua called Sayyidul Istighfar, which is Allahumma anta rabbi la ilaha illa ant, khalaqtani wa ana abduk, wa ana ala ahdika wa wa'dika mastata'at, a'udhu bika min sharri ma sana'at, أبوء لك بنعمتك علي وأبوء بذنبي فاغفر لي فإنه لا يغفر الذنوب إلا أنت. That if you were to recite this in the day with conviction and you were to die in that day, what do you attain? You attain paradise. And that if you were to recite in the evening and you were to die in that night, then you said it with conviction, you would attain paradise. Daily, Allah gives us this opportunity. Weekly, we have a means of forgiveness of Friday to Friday. And throughout the year, in those sacred times that I just mentioned, Allah gives us time and time again to be forgiven. And why I mention all of this is that every one of us is looking for an opportunity to begin anew, to start over. How many books, stories, movies, television shows have been written on the exact topic? That if I could just go back in time and know what I know now, what would I change? And the question I ask myself first and foremost is, what would I change? If I know how every sin that I committed and every sin that each and every one of us committed was never worth it. Maybe it appeased to our desire at that moment, but it was never worth it. Every obligation that I left off, it was never worth it. I never found satisfaction in it. I never found satisfaction in disobeying Allah. Every one of us knows the feeling that we will never be satisfied except through Allah. And if today was my first day, if today was your first day, what would you do differently in your relationship with Allah? Imam al-Haddad, he has a book called Nasa'ih Diniya. It is a book on religious advice and counsel in relation to Iman. And he begins this book with a particular chapter. And it is in that chapter that we find many of our life issues, many life concepts explained. And it is the chapter of taqwa. It is this beautiful chapter of taqwa that I give myself an assignment for this new year, and that is my simple reminder for today. That if and when we hear the ayah of the Quran, an ayah that we're going to hear weekly by the Imam, I want us to ask a simple question to ourselves. Where am I in my relationship with Allah? And the ayah in the Quran that is mentioned almost every week by the Friday Khatib is Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu taqullaha haqqa tuqatih wa la tamutunna illa wa antum muslimun. O you who believe, have taqwa of Allah as He Azza wa Jal deserves, and do not die except in a state of submission, in a state of Islam. Every time we hear this ayah, for this new year, let's make the commitment that we just ask ourselves a simple question. Where am I in my relationship with Allah? Was this a week in which I obeyed Allah and I did what I was supposed to do? Then alhamdulillah, we show gratitude to Allah for giving us that honor. And if this was a week that I struggled, then as I mentioned, every day can be an opportunity for us to begin anew. It is another opportunity for us to start over. And why this topic of taqwa? Why this particular ayah? It is because taqwa, it is one of the most paramount, fundamental pieces of important information. It is a lifestyle choice that we must make in order for us to attain goodness in our life. That every one of us, maybe we have anxieties, maybe we have worries, whether they're financial, what's going to happen with the economy, whether it's going to be political, what's happening in the political state of the world, whether it's health issues, whether it's any type of worry, all of us are facing something. But what does Allah Azza wa Jal say in the Quran? وَمَنْ يَتَّقِ اللَّهَ يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مَخْرَجًا. That it is this taqwa, that if you have taqwa of Allah, He'll give you a way out. He will give you that way out. But we're worried because, if I'm outwardly Muslim and I'm showing this taqwa and I'm doing all of these things, they're going to debase me, they're going to disgrace me, and all the Muslims in the world were being so disgraced. What does Allah say? Inna akramakum indallahi atqakum. That you want to know what true honor is? True honor is by Allah Azza wa Jal alone. And who does Allah honor? He honors those who have taqwa of Allah. And we see it. We see it even in our own worldly life. We don't even need to always wait till the akhirah, but we see it in front of us. As you watch as the New York City mayoral candidates are all lined up, and each one of them is asked a very simple question. What is the first country that you will go and visit after you become the candidate or the mayor of New York City? One of the most prestigious political positions in our country. Each one of them says, I will go and visit the occupier genocidal state. Each and every one of them answers the same until you reach the person with some iman in his heart. And he says, what? I'm going to stay here in New York City. And everyone says, oh, this is the end of his career. This is the end. Inna akramakum indallahi atqakum. And we don't need to stand for every single thing that this person is saying. But in the same way that we realize Allah will honor all those with taqwa in one way or the other in this world or the next. And sometimes we're worried about the akhirah. Sometimes we're worried about our intention, our sincerity, whether or not I will attain paradise. And Allah Azza wa Jalla, He also says in relation to this as well, that inna lil muttaqina 'inda rabbihim jannatin na'im. It is those who have taqwa of Allah who will attain the gardens of paradise. And so this is a paramount, incredibly important thing for us to understand. But I haven't translated it. And the reason I haven't translated is for a particular reason, and that is that a one-to-one word translation is going to be very difficult for this important concept. Fear of Allah, God consciousness, being mindful are all subsets of what this word means. But when Abu Hurairah radiallahu an, who is one of the most expert hadith narrators, companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he is asked, what is taqwa? Abu Hurairah radiallahu an, he doesn't give a one-word response. What does he say? He says, have you ever walked through a thorny path? Man says, of course, who hasn't walked through a thorny path? He says, how did you walk through it? He says, when I would see the thorns, I would walk around them, go over them, stop short of them. Very logical. Abu Hurairah radiallahu anh, he says, that's taqwa. That idea that we have in our daily life, that we make the decision maybe not to harm our clothes. And I see some young men here. That imagine you're wearing your new Jordans. How do you walk around in your new Jordans? People don't even take a full step. They almost waddle. Why do they waddle? Because I don't want to get creases in my shoes. I see a puddle, I'm going 5 minutes around. For what reason? It is because we understand the value of those shoes. And now how about our souls? How about our hearts? How many of us could replace our heart or our soul? This is something that is irreplaceable, and it has always been a part of us, and it will always be a part of us. And so we must, in the same way, be mindful, as we would of our body and our clothes, be mindful of our souls. And what does that look like in our real life? It means that before I do something that is positive, before I do something that is good, I ask myself a simple question. Why am I doing this? Am I doing this for the sake of people? So they say, MashaAllah, that person is so religious, praying their sunnah, praying their fara'id, going to the masjid, donating. Or am I doing this for the sake of Allah? Ask yourself that question. And this is not to get lost in one's thoughts, but it is to make sure that we continue to renew our intentions why we're doing something good. And when it comes to something evil, my teachers would tell us that his parents gave him an advice. He said, if you want to ever commit a sin, you know what you should do? Go and pray 2 rak'ah nafil and then go and commit that sin. Why? Because you are remembering Allah, and then before you do that sin, it almost extinguishes any desire to do it. How could you commit a sin after going and praying 2 rak'ah nafil? It is always tying whatever you are doing back to Allah Azza wa Jal. And as He mentions in the ayah, حَقَّ تُقَاتِهِ, as He Azza wa Jal deserves. Imam al-Haddad, in the same book on taqwa, he mentioned something very interesting. He says, as Allah deserves is an impossible thing for us to reach. That if you and I, we had 1,000,000 clones of ourselves, 1,000,000 clones of ourselves, and each of them had 1,000,000 years that they would live, and they all went into one scale, they would not live up to the right of Allah. Because Allah deserves everything from every one of us and more, and we will never live up to it. So the scholars say the explanation of this is فَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ مَا اسْتَطَعْتُمْ. Have taqwa of Allah as best as you and I can. And what does that mean? It means continue to reset, continue to start over, continue to realize that you and I, we're going to have different levels of variations of how good we are in obeying Allah and staying away from sin. But the thing that all of us can do, and every one of us has an equal chance to do, regardless of how much sin we commit, we always have the chance to turn back to Allah, which is the assignment. Every time you hear that ayah, you ask yourself, where am I in my relationship with Allah? And once again, if the answer is, I'm far away, turn back, start over, and begin anew. And do not die except in a state of submission, in a state of Islam. And this is the final thing. And it is one of the most important things that you and I can do in our entire life. It is to live up to that moment that we are going to die and hope and pray that we die as a Muslim. Die in a state of submission to Allah Azza wa Jal. But my brothers and my sisters, we have to realize this is not something that I can just raise my hand and claim and say that I declare I will die as a Muslim. This is something that Allah has to bestow upon us as an honor. He has to bestow upon us, and He has to give us that right to do so. And it is not through your and my actions, it is through us begging Allah Azza wa Jal throughout our life and trying our best, and then it is through the mercy of Allah that He allows us to die as a Muslim. And there is a scary hadith that is equally scary and equally hopeful, that there will be a person who will live their life doing the actions of the people of paradise, until between them and Jannah is a dhira', it is an arm's length. And then the record will overtake them, and they will do the actions of the people of hellfire, and they are entered into the hellfire. Can you imagine a person that you would see every single day praying, every day they're fasting, what it seemed externally, publicly, it seemed as if this person is going to be in paradise. But when the record overtook them, and they did the actions of the people of hellfire, they were entered into it. And we ask Allah, Ya Arhamar Rahimeen, Ya Allah, protect us from ever being from this category. And then there's the second category that is so hopeful. That is, that there will be a person who will be doing the actions of the people of hellfire throughout their life, until between them and the hellfire is a arm's length. And then the record overtakes them. And then they do the actions of the people of paradise. And then they are entered into the paradise. They are entered into the gardens. For what? For just doing that action when they were so close to meeting their Lord. And I give this with a caveat in understanding one thing. That we shouldn't hear this and think, okay, so I'm only 20 or 30, so I have a long life ahead of me, so maybe I should actually sin now and then turn back to Allah in the future. There have been time and time again where we have been shown in our community that age is not a factor of when a person returns back to Allah. We are shown time and time again in our community. Just a couple of days ago, a young brother from our community, well known, just married for a few months, was involved in a car accident and he returned to his Lord. And we ask Allah, Ya Arhamar Rahimeen, Ya Allah, to give him Jannatul Firdaus without any type of hisab, and to give his now widowed wife patience and give her Jannah and her entire family Jannah for enduring this hardship. And you think it's an accident and these things happen. But even in terms of natural causes, a couple of weeks ago, a young brother in his 20s went to sleep one night and the next morning he didn't wake up. And he returned to his Lord, the child of Huffaz, well known in the community. And once again we ask Allah, Ya Allah, to give him paradise without any type of hisab, and to give all his family Jannah without hisab for enduring this hardship. And I conclude with the note that the scholars of the past, they would be so worried about this. They would be so worried about how they would die that they would say that if I had the choice to die between my bedroom door as a Muslim or the front door of my house as a martyr, a higher rank, they would say that I would choose to die at my bedroom door, because I don't know what would happen to the state of my heart between my bedroom door and the front door of my house. And so we need to be incredibly worried about this and beg Allah that He gives us this opportunity. And so once again, to conclude, what was the ayah that I mentioned? It was, O you who believe, have taqwa of Allah. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu taqullah haqqa tuqatih, as He deserves. وَلَا تَمُوتُنَّ إِلَّا وَأَنْتُم مُسْلِمُونَ, and do not die except in a state of Islam. When you hear this ayah of Quran recited weekly by the khatib, ask yourself in your heart a simple question: where am I in my relationship with Allah? We ask Allah, Ya Arhamar Rahimeen, Ya Allah, to make us from amongst those who will die as Muslims. Ya Allah, we ask you, Ya Allah, to forgive us for all of our shortcomings. We ask you, Ya Allah, in this new year, allow us to witness the upcoming Ramadan and the upcoming days of Dhul Hijjah, and count us from amongst those who will enter into Jannah without hisab. And we ask you, Ya Allah, for all those who are suffering in the world, especially our brothers and sisters in Palestine and in Gaza in particular. Ya Allah, give them their promised victory in this world and the next, and give all the martyrs paradise without hisab. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. قال الله تعالى في كتابه الكريم بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم، بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم، وبارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم اهدنا فيمن هديت، وعافنا فيمن عافيت، وتولنا فيمن توليت، وبارك لنا فيما أعطيت، وقنا واصرف عنا شر ما قضيت، فإنك تقضي ولا يقضى عليك، وإنه لا يذل من واليت ولا يعز من عاديت، تباركت ربنا وتعاليت. اللهم تقبل صلاتنا وقيامنا وعبادتنا، اللهم أجرنا من النار، اللهم أدخلنا الجنة مع الأبرار. عباد الله رحمكم الله، اتقوا الله، إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي، يعظكم لعلكم